Hey, everybody, welcome to the Thriving Lives podcast, our weekly community Zoom call. Tonight is a very special episode. It is a client spotlight. We haven't done one of these in, I don't know, like 8 months,
8 months.
9 months, something like that. We need to be doing more of these. Micky decided to join us today. Micky Foos, is that how I say your last name?
Mhm.
Micky Foos, nice, nailed it. Micky's going to be our guest today, and really at this point, I'm going to go ahead and shut up because Renee, I know, wants to introduce Micky. This is her client that's been kicking ass with her for how many months now?
I think she's at like 5.5,
5.5. Nice,
I
nice.
think,
Um,
around there.
well,
Yeah.
you guys won't have to hear much from me today. So Renee, if you want to take it from here.
Yeah. So Mickey is one of my clients since I guess 5.5 months or so. And it's been cool for me to have Mickey. She's been one of my I have different relationships with all of my clients. Some I text all the time, some talk to me only during check-ins, some here and there. Just really depends. Mickey and I have similar mindsets on a lot of things. And so we've been able to talk about our mindsets, about therapy, about things a lot deeper than just fitness and nutrition. And so that's been cool to build a relationship with her, get to know her story, get to know her as a person. And just a really rewarding client. Right now we're doing, which she may touch on this, I don't know, and I know I've touched on it in the last couple podcasts, like 30 days of like romanticizing your life. So like finding one thing each day that makes you feel good, that's just kind of a little bit out of the ordinary. And sometimes it's just as simple as I went to the gym and I felt happy, or I took the long way home to look at the trees, or just something little um to shift our mindset. Both of us, I think, kind of thrive on mindset and things like that. And so she'll go into more on her mindset and everything, but just cool. And I love having relationships like that with clients that want to dive deeper into their personal life. Not that you have to, but I do think when you get to know someone a little bit more, it helps you coach them. Mickey's also been pretty good about telling me what she needs as a client, kind of what her mindset is, where she's at, being very vulnerable. It's like, okay, I'm struggling this week, or okay, I'm doing great, or hey, can we just hop on a phone call really quick? I need to reassess my goals. Um, and so I think she'll be able to touch on the fact how vulnerability and just openness can definitely help in having a coach. Um, and yeah, that's kind of it. So Mickey has, I'll let her talk about it. But Mickey, tell me a little bit about your heart conditions and your diagnosis and how that affects your day-to-day life.
Yes, so I am 26 years old, and I was born with an extremely rare heart condition called tetralogy of Fallot. And whenever I'm in the hospital, like I'm always just bombarded by nursing students because they teach you in nursing school that you'll never meet someone with this condition. That's how rare it is. And back before my generation, these babies that were born with this condition were not able to thrive and were, passing away at birth, basically. And basically what the condition is, it's four or more heart defects present at birth. So I had three large holes in my heart and then some separate issue with my heart. And I had four open heart surgeries at birth, and I was fine. Everything was great. And at my 1 year follow up, they found another issue and they had to go in and do another open heart surgery. So I had like occupational therapy, speech therapy, all that. I had to learn how to walk again, eat, all of it, basically at just a year old. And because it's so rare and they weren't sure like how it would affect you in your adult years, it's kind of a guessing game. So, which is not fun at times, but they had told us that I could expect complications in my early 20s. They just didn't know what. And so growing up, I had a very normal life. I played volleyball, competitive volleyball for 9 years. I danced, I cheered, I did everything I wanted to pretty much. And it wasn't until 2017, when I was in my early 20s, that all these complications arose again. and I went into cardiac arrest in 2020, 2 weeks before my college graduation, and had to have surgery for that as well. I had 6 heart surgeries in college for PVCs and SVT, and that has basically, I guess, progressed. There's not really a way to treat it. I have had 6 cardiac ablations, and they said it might take 2 of them to really fix the issue, and I've had 6 now. So it's not really treatable. Heart failure is what they call it, right-sided heart failure. And unfortunately, there is no treatment, but they do treat the symptoms. So
Tell me a little bit about your symptoms, and then I'll ask you kind of why you reached out to me.
yes, so my symptoms can range from, a little uncomfortable to absolutely debilitating. Symptoms are chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, extreme fatigue. So there are some days I wake up and I can go to the gym and work out and walk my dog. And then there's other days where I feel like I can't even get out of bed because I'm so short of breath or having so much pain.
So I know that was one of your concerns. So I guess now I'll ask you, why did you want a personal trainer? Why did you reach out to me? What were your concerns or hesitations with hiring a coach?
Yeah, of course. I've definitely looked into it for a while. I completed cardiac rehab last March, where you basically go and exercise in a hospital setting so they can track your heart rate and all your vitals and everything and make sure nothing is happening, making sure you're like exercising in a safe environment. And I realized like that's what I needed. Because I would go to the gym and I'd like walk on the treadmill for a few minutes, but I wanted someone to actually tell me like what can I do that's going to push me enough to see results, but not push me too much into cardiac issues basically. And so I started looking into finding a trainer. And I remember I addressed that at our like initial call about how I was like, oh, well, like I feel like a trainer is gonna tell me to go, run 5 miles every day. And if I don't feel like doing that, I'm not gonna do it, physically wise. And so yeah, I just found it so helpful. I addressed my concerns and you validated all of my concerns, and we work together every week to see what's going to push me enough but not push me too far.
What do you feel like? So tell me, I guess, tell me a little bit about what you can do on a day-to-day basis and what your goals are. Did you want to lose weight? Did you want to gain confidence? Kind of what were your goals in that aspect? And yeah.
Yes, so my goal, ultimately, I would like to be at a certain weight, but that's not my main goal. My main goal is to wake up and have energy and not be fatigued and not make my symptoms worse. Because on days when it's really bad, I obviously have to stay in bed, or sometimes I'm hospitalized for weeks at a time, and that plays a big part of your energy levels, I guess I should say. And so like when I'm feeling good, I want to go out and walk on the treadmill or walk my dog. Or it is also my goal to learn how to lift and learn how to do those like full body workouts. And also I'm a model, so overall just like looking my best is important, but mostly just to feel my best was my ultimate goal.
So you're in and out of the hospital pretty frequently, I would say. Maybe I feel like since I've had you, maybe once a month or so. How do you navigate that as far as your mindset, as far as you getting the walks in or your goals? And how do you feel like you've communicated that with me?
Yeah, for sure. So after being in the hospital for a few days, like all you want to do is like stay in bed. Like you're so tired. Um, you have like no charisma, and I guess if that's the right word. And a lot of it is like a mind game. Like, and I think that's what I can't speak. That's what helps when working with a trainer is they're going to push you when you don't want to do it. It's not like I'm like, oh, hey, I was in the hospital and you're telling me to like go out and run a marathon. No, like I address with you my concerns, especially at check-ins. I check in every week. And it ultimately just comes down to mindset. And one thing that I've learned is like your ego doesn't want like it doesn't want comfort, it wants safety. So your mind a lot of the times is like, oh, just do this because it's safe. And you listen to that because your ego honestly is like your worst enemy. I like to call it. It's like the devil on your shoulder, like, but it just wants you ultimately to be safe. And so a lot of the times I feel like going on a walk is not safe because I'm like, oh, what if I go into cardiac arrest again? I have all these like overwhelming, what do you call it? I'm like an overthinker. I like overthinking thoughts, but at the end of the day, it's like you just have to push past that. And a lot of the times I've learned when I do push past what my mind is telling me to do, I can tell myself like, hey, I did that and I didn't die, like to blankly put it. And I mean, it's like that with anything. Anything you're afraid to do, if you do it, it's kind of like implementing in your mind like resilience and comfort, basically.
And it helps you just realize that whatever it was you were fearful of, you built it up to be way bigger in your head than probably what it actually was, and you were able to overcome that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me a little bit about, I'm excited. She made a video about this. She hasn't posted it yet, but your monthly progress, if you want to read kind of what you had said. And then I guess also how you remembered and how you keep track of the progress that you've made.
Right. Okay, so yes, I sent you I made a TikTok. I haven't finished it obviously because I'm gonna wait till I'm done with like my training to do that. But in January, I had been in this program for a month and I was implementing my meal plan and I was still eating a good bit of fast food because I was kind of like weaning into it. And I also wasn't prioritizing the gym. I feel like that might have been a month where I was in and out of the hospital. But February I felt like was a lot better. I was doing really good with like meal prepping. I was noticing like a lot less bloating. Um, and I was really sticking with my meal plan. I was having some heart issues, so I did have to stop going to the gym, but I was still challenging myself to move every day. So I know like me and Renee talked about just like going on a 15-minute walk in the morning and in the evening. There's my 30 minutes of workout or movement for the day. Let's see, last month I had a horrendous case of the flu, and that was right after I got out of the hospital for my heart. And so I went pretty much all month without going to the gym. And I also completely stopped eating for a few weeks and lost a lot of weight. And to be honest, that gave me like some immediate gratification. I'm like, oh, I'm at my weight. Like, but I realized like how unhealthy that was. And that didn't help my energy levels at all. So this month I'm slowly starting to get back into like my meal plan and doing like the daily movement. And basically I'm trying to move every day, no matter how big or little it may seem. Like even just yoga, I feel like gives me gratification, even if it's not like physical results I can see, if that makes sense.
I was gonna ask if you ever do yoga, just for like, it's one of the ways we can exercise that generally will put us into parasympathetic, lower stress mode essentially with
Yeah.
it, and still move your body, still just all the benefits that obviously yoga is going to bring with it. So I was curious because then your heart rate is likely not getting up to what it would be if you were doing intense gym sessions, stuff like that. So it sounds like you do implement some yoga here and there.
Yes. So I'm very strict on my morning routine. I every day know exactly what I'm going to do. I mean, there are some mornings where I don't wake up on time and I don't do it, and I see those effects of my day, because I feel like morning kind of sets the tone for your day. So every morning I get up, I make my bed. I have for years. I either stretch or do yoga. I meditate every day, and then I'll um, either cook or make like my healthy breakfast, usually just like a protein shake or something. And also, I was telling Renee, I think just last week maybe, about how a mind trick that I use to get in my daily meditation and just any habit really is I'll start my coffee so that I can smell it, but I can't have my coffee until I'm done meditating. And that like forces me to do the habit that I need to do.
Love that.
And also I enjoy habit stacking, which is basically where you pair something that you get to do with something that you have to do. So for instance, if I need to do laundry or if I need to go on a walk, I'm going to like listen to a podcast or an audiobook while I do it. And it just makes whatever you have to do more enjoyable, and it helps build those healthy habits.
So with Micky as well, when we started, I'll be talk a little bit about your diet, and then what we kind of implemented with her at first was morning protein shakes. That's kind of where we started, like, okay, let's take this at your own pace, which is what I do with all of my clients. No client is the same, as far as how fast they go into things and what pace they go at. So with Micky, it was a lot of, okay, let's focus on our protein at breakfast. And so you want to talk about a little bit about how you feel having your protein for breakfast, and I guess how you feel having food off the meal plan versus why you pick fast food. And then again, sometimes I think when you're that tired, why fast food is easier option versus what happens when you meal prep.
Right. So jumping into this was all new to me in regards to physical activity and meal planning. I competed for Miss Kansas USA last summer, and I cut out gluten just to see if it made a difference. And it was like a night and day difference. Like I went from looking 6 months pregnant to like actually my stomach was completely flat. And I was like, wow, so maybe gluten is the issue. And I've been to like all these holistic doctors and all kinds of stuff. And I always had gut issues and I didn't know like what it was stemming from. So with the meal plan, I found doing the protein shakes in the morning was the easiest way to just get a good chunk of my protein intake. Like just right there. It's easy to make, it's easy to do. And I found that like meal planning and cooking and stuff was kind of like therapeutic for me. It was kind of like another way to, like we talked about, like romanticizing your life. It was another way to do that when I can turn on my music and just like dance around while I'm making food. It was really fun, or it's like a fun experience for me. But let's see, I forgot the second half of your.
Tell me why you still tend to sometimes pick that fast food versus how you know it makes you feel, and then what gets you, like oftentimes we reevaluate your goals and be like, okay, like right now you want to get back into meal prep. So tell me a little bit about the waves you go in. I think a lot of clients can relate to that, because no one just, I mean, very few clients truly just completely follow their meal plan right off the bat.
Right.
No one gets rid of their fast food habits overnight. So tell me a little bit about your like ebbs and flows with that.
Yeah, for sure. So okay, at first when Renee sent me my meal plan and the first meal I made, I was like, Renee, this is not going to fill me up. This is so small. And she's like, just eat it. And if it doesn't fill you up, like we'll reconvene. And I started eating it and it was so full of protein. I think it was the protein pasta that you make that I was like, oh my gosh, like this felt like this did fill me up. Like that was crazy. Because I really thought that small of a portion wasn't going to be enough. I'm like, I'm going to go to Taco Bell after I make this. Like I already know it. And that wasn't the case. But yeah, so fast food for me, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's fast food. And when I'm out doing stuff throughout the day, the last thing I want to come home and do is cook. So I just grab fast food. And a lot of the times I think to myself, like, okay, I got fast food last night, so I might as well just screw it and start again on Monday. And the one thing Renee has said that's like stuck with me from the beginning is
thank you.
The one main thing is what I meant. If you're gonna take anything from this, take this one thing. She was like, would you rather make one mistake and fix it, or would you rather keep making mistakes? And I was like, that's a good way to put it. Because I mean, when you make a mistake, it's so easy to just be like, oh, screw it, I'll just start, next week again. But when you make that mistake and reflect on it and work to do better, it feels so much better than just saying, oh, I'll start again on Monday. Because you know you won't. Like, you know you won't. Like, you might as well fix it in the moment. And that's another thing that goes back to mindset, is like when we're in the present moment and we're like conscious of our thoughts, nothing can like sneak past our consciousness without our permission, basically. And I talked about this last week on my TikTok, was you know, when you're in a bad mood, I think that day someone had cut me off, and like in traffic, and I was just so angry, and I like brought myself back to the present moment, and I was like, why am I so angry? Like, do I need to take a nap? Do I need to eat a cheeseburger? Like, this is not serving me. And because I was so present and mindful of those negative emotions that weren't serving me, I was able to flip them so much easier. And same thing goes with like working with a personal trainer. It's like, if you just let these thoughts win and you never like challenge them, like that's where overthinking comes in. It's like you're going to start spiraling, and when you could have just addressed it from the beginning, if that makes sense. That was a lot.
Well,
I think
it sounds like you're just super present, and that's how you're able to kind of stop yourself in those moments. And that comes from, obviously, I mean, you do yoga, you meditate, you do things that make you super mindful, and you got in what you guys do on a daily basis. You know, you're focusing on gratitude as well, looking for the silver linings and the positives and all that stuff, which really does go hand in hand with just, I mean, sticking with this journey with it, and really just having a good outlook on life, which obviously you do.
I think a lot of it as well, like I said, I think we're similar on our thought process and things like that. There's times when I think she's like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. And so her being vulnerable and speaking her mind to me is truly, I think, what's helped her progress throughout this, and her being like, hey, I need help. I need to hop on a call. I need to reevaluate my goals. And that's a lot of times when we'll step back and think, like, okay, what can we do? We can't go to the gym every day, but can we even go on a 5-minute walk? Can we walk around the room to get more steps in? Can we maybe just pick one meal a day that's going to be healthy? Or have a reflect on like, okay, well, if I get this Taco Bell right now, or if I get this, then how am I going to feel? And if I do feel like this, am I just stacking these poor habits? Like if my body already doesn't feel good, Taco Bell is not going to make my heart feel any better.
Especially Taco Bell, Mickey. What are we doing Taco Bell? There's so many better
I
fast
love,
food places.
She
I
loves
know,
Taco
that's
Bell.
my comfort food. But yeah, so I, like you said, I'm very like open. I'm an open book. Anybody can ask me anything. I go around and share my story at like events and conferences and stuff. So like I'm very comfortable being on stage talking about my struggles. I go to therapy. I've been going to therapy ever since my cardiac arrest in 2020, because I got this like overwhelming like sense of fear after cardiac arrest, because it just came out of nowhere. I was fine one minute and I wasn't the next. And it took me going to a therapist to realize like, oh shoot, I got PTSD and anxiety, and my body was just constantly on fight or flight mode, and it was telling me that something bad was going to happen. um, but I think, like you said, being vulnerable and talking about what's going on and like doing the check-ins like helps me a lot. I remember there was one check-in that was like, did you have much stress this week? And I said yes. And she said, how did you handle that stress? And I said, I cried a lot, because that's what my week was like. But I feel like definitely just being vulnerable with check-ins, and even not even waiting until check-in. If I need help,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm gonna, start my meal plan next Thursday after Renee tells me what to do. Like, I'm gonna text her and be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Would you agree with this? Yes or no? Like, so communication is honestly my biggest priority, and I think that helps me the most. Because like you said, there are days that I can't like go out and go to the gym or like move physically, and it's my mindset that really keeps me in check.
How do you approach the meals and diet right now? What's your current goals? Tell me about the time that you had your dad come over and meal prep with you. And there's been a few different times I feel like where we've tried to like hop back on track or like, okay, let's focus on these foods or yeah.
Yeah, so I'm still currently sticking with the initial meal plan that you gave me back in December. So I'm doing a lot of the protein pasta. I'm doing a lot of brown rice with turkey and vegetables. I really like that fake lasagna recipe that you gave me. But yeah, my dad is the one person in my family. So my mom my mom is on the sheriff's department, and she will tell you she'll eat a Mountain Dew, or she'll eat a candy bar and have Mountain Dew for lunch every day because that's she's on the road. It's convenient. But my dad, on the other hand, is like the one person in my family that will actually like eat healthy with me and meal prep with me. So he came over one Sunday and we just meal prepped all of our meals for the week. So he had stuff to eat and I had stuff to eat, and it worked out so perfectly. We got to bond because I don't really see him throughout the week. And yeah, it was good.
So I think a lot of it is a good point for Micky as well. When she doesn't feel good, when her heart's telling her, I can't move, when she's in bed 20 hours out of the day, when she's been in and out of the hospital, that's when she has a hard time trying to meal prep or trying to go to the grocery store. And I think a lot of things can seem overwhelming, especially when she has so much time in the hospital to sit there and think like, oh, what are my goals? How can I do better? How can I improve myself? And so oftentimes her and I have to reel it back in and be like, okay, what can we focus on right now? And can you spend 30 minutes right now meal prepping so that you have at least one healthy meal throughout the week to pick from? And now that you've made that healthy meal, eat it instead of fighting the temptation to go get the fast food. And so I think that shows a lot for people are that just don't want to meal prep. I think there's not that the grass is always greener on the other side, but there are things that where you can't meal prep, you can't go to the gym. And so people that do have that ability, I think that's when you can kind of look back and think like, oh, I am able to move my body. And I think that helps Micky too. When she is able to move her body, I think it's like, oh, I have a good day. I'm going to try to move my body. I'm going to try to eat healthier because I know there's going to be times my body isn't allowing me to do these things. And so, yeah.
And it sounds like so cliche, like that quote that's like, focus on the stair in front of you, not the whole staircase. Like, but like I live by that because I can't look that far in advance. I can't, I have no idea how I'm gonna feel next week. I don't even know how I'm gonna feel tomorrow. So yeah, like doing what I can when I can definitely helps. And also with meal prepping, I'm a visual learner. So like I have to write out exactly what I'm gonna eat. And as I'm planning out my meals for the week, I also write to the side like any activities or events that may, interfere with, I guess, eating times.
Good.
Like, oh, I'm gonna be out of the house at this time, so I'm gonna make this and take it with me, or whatever. Just like being proactive instead of reactive helps a lot because yeah, if I'm on the road coming home from work or whatever, and I don't have anything at home to eat, I'm gonna stop and get Taco Bell or McDonald's, whatever it is. Um, so yeah, just being proactive has helped me a lot.
I think this is a good example too of how having a coach isn't just okay, follow your meal plan, do your workouts. It's very personalized, and again, you can see Micky still gets her Taco Bell, gets her McDonald's because her overarching goal is just feeling better and trying to work on things that are personal to her. And so I don't really know where I was going with that, but Marcus, do you want to chime in at all?
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, so I actually had a couple of questions though. So, I feel like the average person, let's say outside of Thriving Lives, just the average person in the world anyway, almost looks like is searching for any excuse they can make to why they couldn't work out today, why they couldn't eat healthy, why none of this stuff could be a factor of their life. So with your heart condition, like how do you and you obviously have grown up with this condition as well. So it's not like you just woke up yesterday with it, but how have you not used that as an excuse to just say fuck it? I mean, maybe sometimes with the Taco Bell, but that's not what you're doing when you're getting Taco Bell. You just like Taco Bell with it. So how do you not use that as an excuse to just not do any of this stuff? Like it would be very easy if I had that condition, it'd be like, I'm not going to hire a trainer. I'm not going to use money and time and put it into this where why do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think I've just always been very goal oriented.
Mhm.
Like I have very high expectations of myself
Yeah.
and I have goals I know I need to meet. But also, I mean, I do have days where I'm just like, fuck it, like why do I even try?
Yeah.
Why don't I just like let myself, wither away in bed? Um, because I get so frustrated that I'm 26 years old and I'm on disability and I
Yeah.
can't do things that a normal 26-year-old can.
Yeah.
Um, and I just have to go back to like when I share my story, like on stage and stuff, the amount of people that it touches and inspires is really my fuel.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say it's, for other people, but also like my passion in life is to help people and inspire people. And I wouldn't be doing that if I was sitting back in bed complaining.
Definitely.
Um, so yeah.
Well, and just, what it seems like, what, you mentioned being mindful, being present in the moment. That's what you're doing as well with it. Like you said before, I really love that you said it. You're like, I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I don't know what next week is going to bring. So it's just important that I maximize what I'm doing today. And if that is just meal prepping so that I have that stress covered for the next week, I'm eating foods that work better for my body, that allow me to hopefully have less health issues going on with it and can kind of clear the road type of stuff, instead of compounding issues adding to it. Like you said before, the gluten and
Right.
stuff of that nature, you could be adding fuel to that fire of things not going well. And so in this situation, you can at least control the controllables to feel whatever your best is on any given day. And again, control the controllables with it, which then at the end of the day, you still feel good about it. If you had a day where you actually felt good and you were like, but who gives a fuck? Because tomorrow I might not feel good, and you didn't take advantage of that,
Yeah.
then you're not gonna sit there in bed the entire day being like, oh, I'm proud of my choices today with that as well, because you
Right.
wasted away what was otherwise a really good day you could have had. There wasn't really
Right. And
that
like
day.
we were talking about, right, like and we were talking about before the podcast is like check-ins are so easy for me because I am constantly reflecting. I'm always journaling. I'm always writing daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals. That's what keeps me on track. If I don't have goals, then yeah, I'm just gonna do whatever I want and
Yeah.
whatever feels good in the moment. Also, I grew up next to my dad, who was like, he calls himself like a fixer. He's like, "There's a problem, let's fix it,"
Yeah.
and that's how I am too. If I am having, issues with mindset or mentality, okay, let's go to a therapist. If
Yeah.
I'm struggling with my weight, okay, let's, implement a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't do anything to just sit back and be like, oh, well, this is happening, but oh, well.
Yeah.
Um,
Not doing
and a
anything.
lot of people ask me like how I'm like this. And I'm like, it took many near-death experiences, as bad as it sounds. Like it shouldn't take a near-death experience to be like, wow, life is so precious. I should do what I can when I can, um, and give it my all.
Definitely.
But I feel like that's how I am because I have to take things one day at a time
Mhm.
because my best just is so different day to day.
Mhm.
But some days, like I said, I can get up and go to the gym, and
Mhm.
some days my best is getting out of bed to feed myself.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely love your mindset with all of that. I think
Thank you.
I think it's phenomenal, and you're right. It sounds like you've talked in front of people before, and it is definitely inspiring. You know what I mean? Like, um, it should inspire others to, again, not take their health for granted, not take their days for granted. So I mean, keep being that positive, voice and just, light for other people as well, that they definitely need it. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I mean, you have every excuse in the world to just be like, screw it. You know what I mean? And you're not doing that. So why would anybody else that hasn't been dealt that same shitty hand? You know what I mean? So I love the perseverance and the persistence with it, and again, just making the most of everything you can.
Yeah, and having a personal trainer definitely helps. Especially one that's so personable. That's not just like, oh, here's your plan. See
Yep.
you in a month. Like
Yep.
it definitely helps because like when I am having bad days, either mentally or physically, I can text Renee and she's gonna like motivate me. I mean, she's
Yep.
not gonna be like, okay, get up and go run a marathon or whatever,
Yeah.
but like she does, motivate me to want to do my best.
Yeah.
And I know she'll swipe up on my Instagram stories sometimes when I'm talking about Taco Bell, and she's like, "What about that meal you prepped in your fridge?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah."
Well, and all that comes back to, and you're obviously a very communicative person, but you taking advantage of that as well, and you actually communicating. You got your dog there.
Yeah.
What kind of dog
Just
you?
see
What kind
him.
of dog you get?
He is a Chihuahua Beagle mix.
Oh, Beagle mix. Oh, he's a little cutie.
Yep. He's like the size of a Chihuahua, but he's part Beagle.
That's awesome. He's cute. Um, well, God, your dog threw me all off. I don't know what I was saying. Oh, just the communication side of things, because a lot of trainers could just hand out a plan and say, all right, go follow it. And you would
Yeah.
stop after a week because you're not communicating. You're not saying, hey, this is my struggle. This is where I'm caught up at. This is how my day is going. This is how my week is going. And that's again why you've been here for 5.5 months and continue to see progress and continue to feel better and continue to kind of, break through some obstacles that are going on, because you didn't just give up because the initial plan might not have worked, regardless if we thought it would, or if you thought it would, or whatever the case is. So it's just paramount, that communication side of things, which has allowed you to have probably a lot better days, because you have somebody like Renee in your corner that can, be there to answer questions, or just to give you grace, tell you to give yourself grace with it,
Right.
what that looks like. So again, like, communication is just key, and I'm proud of you for opening up and doing that for Renee, and then obviously Renee handles that very well. So I love it.
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, it's been really cool as a coach to have a client that is more mindset based, that's more really tailoring to her goals. Because, like I said, if I just gave her a plan and said, okay, you need to be at the gym 3 times this week, and if, like I said, that was one of her biggest things. She was like, if you tell me to go to the gym and I can't go, like, I'm not going to go. And she's like, I don't want you to get mad at me. And I was like, oh my God, and I would
Yeah.
literally never, like, your
Yeah.
body's telling you can't.
Yeah.
And so we have to work around that. We don't want to focus on what you can't do. We want to focus on what you can do.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think it's scary for her a lot of times of like, okay, yeah, I don't really feel safe going on a walk right now, or I don't want to do this. And so as a coach, I've had to get creative on, okay, what can we do and how can we modify this? And what can we do to Micky has a very like all or nothing mindset, which a lot of
So do
clients
you.
do. And so we've had to focus on, it's not all or nothing, but these little baby steps where it's going to compound with it.
Yeah.
And like I said, truly just the communication of her goals and her aspirations, and just being vulnerable with me, I think goes a long way. Not that every client has that best friend like conversations type stuff going on. However, I think it definitely helps when you are vulnerable, when you are truly reflecting on all those questions, to then see, how can I grow? How can I do better? And how can I utilize this personal trainer that I hired
Yeah.
um to benefit my own goals?
And that's what I told her in the beginning as well, is like, I have tried on my own to like do what I do now in this program.
Yeah.
And I just don't stick with it because I don't have anyone or anything holding me accountable.
Yeah.
But like, if I financially invest in it, like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, you got skin in the game, and somebody on the other side who obviously cares. That's not just matching your investment into this, but going above beyond to help keep you moving in the right direction with it. And another factor that I know Renee agrees with this as well, is, I mean, I love being able. One of the aspects I love about Thriving Lives is we get to build relationships with people we would have never crossed paths with otherwise. And I've
Right.
found a lot of friendships, and even if we're not like close like that, but like still people I can reach out to in 10 years for one reason or another, whatever the case is. And I don't know. I just love that aspect of this. And the only way that we can actually build that kind of relationship is through fostering that through communication. Me being there for a client, or Renee being there for you, in your down moments, and helping you kind of pull through that. Like, it's I love being a part of somebody's journey with that as well. And obviously, Micky, you're the same thing. You're the same way, because you do that for other people in your own way with it. But again, that only happens because you're open and you communicate and you communicate when you need something and communicate the wins and all that stuff. And that's just really important. So I love seeing that for you guys.
Yeah, and I don't know, I don't know if Renee told you, but we talked like a few weeks ago, and she said something to the effect of like, don't take this the wrong way, but like you like don't have to be doing this. Like she's like, you like other people with your condition would like not care about their diet, would, sit around, not even try to be physically active. Like she said
Yeah.
something to that effect. She's like, huh, like you're so right. I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot like, oh, you're so young, oh, so sorry. And I'm like, that doesn't help me. Like there's no,
Yeah.
I mean, that sounded mean, but
I
what
know
I
what you
mean by
mean.
that is like you're not getting anywhere by just like sitting and playing the victim, or obviously I know the importance of feeling your emotions. There are some days when you can't suppress your emotions. There are some days when you just have a bad day, and
Yeah.
that's fine. I'm not saying I don't ever have
Yeah.
bad days, but also, let yourself feel those feelings and then bounce back and be
Yep.
like, okay, so now what can I do to get myself out of this
Mhm.
negative spiraling mindset that I'm in, if that
Yep.
makes sense.
It 100% makes sense. 100% makes sense. I feel like a lot of people feel, play that victim in so many different ways, and in reality, they didn't have like you have a very real, valid reason to even feel like a victim with that because of that situation. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I think it's important to feel those feelings when you're feeling those. Before we hopped on, before we actually started recording, and before you hopped on, I was communicating some stressors that I was kind of going through with Renee, and it's important to kind of feel those feelings with it, and then after you feel those feelings, then it's a matter of devising what's the plan to get me out of this. Like you said before, like with your dad, and it sounds like you're the same person as your dad in that way, that if there's a problem, there's going to be a solution with it. Now, that's one of the things that kind of screws me up with Nicole, my wife, is sometimes she's not looking for a solution. She's just looking to vent and to just complain about something. Whereas
Yeah.
like my head goes to, hey, if you're upset, let's fix this by a solution. And there's not always necessarily something like that, but still though, I again, it all comes back to your mindset, and that wasn't by accident. Like you said, you had to really work at that mindset. Going to therapy has obviously helped you. Um, but you don't neglect the things that, at least from a mental standpoint, keep you in check. You might neglect the meal prep here or there every now and then, but you're not neglecting the mental work, which is really the foundation of everything we're doing here. That's the reason why check-ins are so important, because that's the foundational piece of that mental side of thing, of that self-reflection, which is how we grow, which is how we improve and keep moving in the right direction. So you're killing it, Micky. Very, very proud of you. I'm happy we got to, sit here and talk and hear more about it. Renee, do you have any other questions?
I feel like we kind of touched on a lot of it.
Micky, you got anything else you want to add? You
Yeah,
said
also,
it well.
I mean, yeah, just the honesty and communication are so important, because like there are some days that I want to get Taco Bell, but I think like, oh, I have to log this. If I get Taco Bell, I have to log this. And that's what keeps me accountable, because I'm like, I want to log healthy food. Like I want to, because once I log it, I feel so like accomplished.
Awesome.
And that's the thing. Also like habit tracking is so important for me, because seeing like those little X's all in a row, bless you, all in a row is like so gratifying to me. I don't know why. I think because I'm a visual learner. Um, there was something else you said that I was going to touch on.
I don't know either. But well, I do know what you mean, though, just in terms of crossing things off. It's immediately gratifying when you're able to cross off something that again that that was positive for you, a to-do thing that you had to do. In this situation, it's every healthy thing that you get to kind of add to that list, log it, whatever the case is.
I
it
think
all feels good.
I think too, Micky talked about, she put something in her story the other day of like, oh my gosh, can someone just like give me Taco Bell or whatever? And she oftentimes like,
What do you get from Taco Bell?
is
Sorry to interrupt you, Renee. What's your go-to order? I'm just curious.
I like their Doritos Locos Tacos, and then
Okay.
I used to get chips and cheese, and then their Baja Blast.
All right, cool.
But yeah, I was in the hospital. I said, can someone please send me Taco Bell? And Renee did not send me Taco Bell. She sent me, what did you say, Renee?
I said something like, I thought this said Taco Bell, but then I reread it and I was like, no, it definitely said meal prep. But what I was going with that was when you're in the hospital, the hospital food's not great. Like which
Yeah.
I could go on a rant about that in the first place. Our hospital system, how their food is not nourishing, which is the fucking thing that you need in a hospital. But Micky has this habit of like, she's not used to having these healthy foods because she's used to being in these situations where healthy food is not available. So I think it's been harder for her to get in that mindset of like, oh, well, why do I want to eat the healthy food today when I know tomorrow I'm going to be in the hospital eating plastic, whatever, like things like that. I think it's been a challenge for her to work through that because, like I said, the healthy food isn't readily available for her. And it takes a lot of effort to get that healthy food. And so it's been a harder habit for her to break, I think. And so that's where we scale it down and focus on, okay, well, we've learned she feels better by having protein in the morning, or she can't have her coffee till at least we have protein on the plan, or in our pathway, things like that. And so she has had to navigate a lot around that. And then a lot of other things too is I think it's easier for her to get discouraged because she retains water sometimes. And so she can't, like, when she, like, if her goal is like, okay, let's have the goal of drinking a lot of water, her body is going to retain that. So that goal backfires. So we then have to go back in and recalculate our goals for water and readjust them. And so I think a lot of times too is that's difficult to constantly be readjusting goals. And that just shows goals are meant to be adjusted and we're going to make it fit for what is going to work for your body. And yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, with like heart failure, there's no cure, but you like manage the symptoms. And I kind of know like if I eat gluten, I'm gonna feel worse. I'm gonna feel really heavy and like my stomach is protruding. And so yeah, just I've noticed that when I do eat the foods on my meal plan, shocker, I feel better.
Yeah. Do you,
So, but Avela, do what?
I was just gonna say, sorry to interrupt, but like when you invest in like these healthier habits, so lower inflammatory types of food. So again, like gluten or Taco Bell, obviously it's gonna be highly inflammatory. So when you invest in the other types of food choices or good quality sleep or meditation and just lowering stress and getting in a parasympathetic mode and things of that nature, all of those go a long way in lowering inflammation, lowering stress in the body and stuff of that nature. Do you notice like a physical difference, not just like a digestion difference, but like in terms of the symptoms that heart failure might induce? Do you notice any improvement with that by the healthy choices that you're making, or is it not make an effect on it?
I mean, it's kind of random. Like I never know how I'm gonna feel, but like when I was in cardiac rehab, it was people that were 3 to 4 times my size, twice my age. Like it was a lot of older men that maybe had smoked their whole life.
Yeah.
And with cardiac rehab, at the end of the session, they always do like a little learning moment the last 10 minutes, and they talk a lot about diet. And I mean, it does play a part because I mean, your diet leads to or can lead to heart disease.
Of course.
So obviously eating the foods that I should be eating versus like Taco Bell is going to help even if I don't feel it like immediately. Like it'll help me in the long term.
Yeah, no, of course. So, I feel like, and maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but I feel like that, at least for me, would be the biggest motivator to continue, especially on the days you can, the days that you can meal prep, the days you can make the healthy choice, the days you can exercise, to capitalize on those, because those are adding days and weeks and months and years onto your life that if you were doing the opposite, like I said before, using it, as an excuse to do whatever, then you're just speeding up that whole process with it. So I feel like, that again, from my perspective, would probably be a good motivating factor that these choices that I'm making are truly adding on time onto my life and obviously reducing the amount of symptoms that you're having in the moment. So in terms of a why, I feel like that's definitely I assume it is some sort of a why for you as well, right?
Right, for sure. Because So all of us, our brains work on an automatic thing. Like you think the thoughts that you do because of past experiences, or you do the things you do because of past experiences, whether you're conscious of it or not.
Yeah.
But it takes being present and mindful to choose the healthier option, or to choose to work out when you don't feel like it. And that's
And
why I practice mindfulness so much.
and to rewire your brain as well, because every time you give in to the choice that old you would have for whatever reason, it gives that choice life the next time as well. And every time you make the other choice that you feel better with, your discipline's growing, your willpower is growing, you know, that the strength that you have to make that healthier choice grows every single time that you do it. And like you said, if you're just not thinking and you're just acting off of instinct, and you're not present in the moment, that's when we make those poor decisions, that it's not till after the fact, or it's not till tomorrow that we're like, ah, shit, I really shouldn't have done that. You know, so it really takes being present in the moment, being mindful of why you're feeling this way, why you're feeling angry, why you're feeling like you need, you know, X, Y, and Z and stuff of that nature. And that's the only way. And again, that's coming back, I'll bring it back to check-ins, is that's why we ask those questions every single week, those so that you become more aware of them, because they're more on top of your mind. You know, that if you answer those questions every week, maybe you're going to start answering those questions just accidentally for yourself on a normal Monday, you know, and be more mindful of those things.
Right.
And that's what it sounds like this is all doing for you. On top of all the work that you've obviously put in outside of this on your own over the years, which none of that can be negated, because that's why you're here in the first place, because you're able to make some of those changes on your own anyway.
Right. And I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. He has written a few books. My favorite one is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Basically talks about how you have to undo all of what your brain has automatically set. And he talks a lot about, like, if your thoughts can make you sick, can they make you healthy?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes.
Definitely.
But yeah, it just talks a lot about implementing these new, almost like train tracks in your neurological, whatever processes. I don't know the exact verbiage, but basically, yeah, like implementing healthier, more positive thoughts, I guess. And affirmations help too. I do affirmations every morning too.
What was the name of that book that you mentioned?
It's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. That's probably my favorite book. That one and The Four Agreements.
Four Agreements?
The Four Agreements. That one's a really short read, but it's good.
Well, perfect. I love short reads. I prefer I prefer audiobooks, so I don't have to do any sort of reading.
Right.
But what I was going to say with that as well, though, anybody listening, you know, on the call right now or on the podcast later on, if those two books have been, you know, paramount for Micky's mindset towards a lot of this stuff, I feel like they would 100% benefit literally anybody else as well that might not be going through anything nearly as severe or as tough to kind of overcome with it. So if they work for Micky, I'm sure they'll work for you guys. I just wrote them down, so I will buy those on Audible or use my credits or however the hell Audible works, and listen to those soon as well.
I have a whole Amazon list of books and journals that have helped me with mindset. If you're
nice, perfect. You might share that list, everybody.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah.
Any comments?
All right. Well, Lauren, what's up?
I just want to say thank you for sharing your story. It is very inspiring, and I like that you don't use it as like a cripple. You use your story to empower others and continue to empower yourself. So that's pretty kick-ass.
Lauren went to my PE too, so she would probably know. Yeah, she's my grade.
You know,
you know James Foos.
I do know James. We didn't have any classes together, but I knew of him. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Small world. He's all right. Thanks for sharing that, Lauren. I agree. Micky, for real.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for coming. You know, taking an hour on your busy Wednesday night and sharing your story with all of us. I really appreciate it. I know I've gotten some stuff out of it as well. But again, thanks for being, you know, a part of the Thriving Lives family.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Of course. All right, y'all. Well, unless there's anything else to add, I think we can let Mickey go for the night and see you guys on check-in day and all that good stuff. Sound good?
Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, thanks for being here, Eric.
Thank you. Nice meeting you too. Appreciate your sharing your story.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Oh yeah. All right, y'all. Have a good night. See you guys on check-in day.
Bye. Thanks,
Thanks
Mickey.
again, Mickey.
Bye-bye.